I love the coaching work that I do, and I really feel that it's important to help people really step into themselves and like find who they really are.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to We Are Duffree's Perspectives.
We have a lot of responsibility. We reach thousands and millions of people through the projects that we're doing.
We are a creative agency maximizing the positive impact on businesses, society, and our planet.
So if you currently look at all communication marketing campaigns, it's not always representing society.
Radical change needs to happen now. Otherwise, brands and companies are going to get left behind.
You know, if you're a marketing manager, if you're in a senior position, you're an opportunity maker. So how can you redistribute those opportunities in an interesting way?
Every week, founder Mitchell talks to visionaries and change makers who are shaking up the status quo.
We create content for every living soul on this planet.
Get ready to be launched into a new perspective.
What film or series could you rewatch 100 times and never get bored from?
The Crown.
Ah.
Yeah.
And what's something you've always wanted to do?
Synchronized swimming.
Ah, cool.
I'm terrible at swimming. I can't hold my breath underwater, but synchronized swimming, okay.
If you could have dinner with anyone in the world, who would it be and in what restaurant?
Ooh, the first thing that comes to mind is Lenny Kravitz at Summersable Indonesian restaurant.
Ah.
As random as you can get.
Nice, let's set it up.
Yeah.
What's your biggest strength?
My biggest strength, I think I listen.
When are you at your happiest?
In the sunshine.
Nice.
Yeah, from the tropics.
Yeah.
So
Any book recommendations?
at the moment, I got a lot. At the moment, I'm really enjoying 4 Desires by Rod Stryker. And it really is about the 4 different desires in your life. When you talk about like your biggest, deepest, like purpose and finding purpose in life.
Yeah.
And he looks at it really from the lens of Yoga Nidra, which is, it's a style of yoga where it's a meditative practice where at the start you set an intention and put out your heartfelt desire to the universe. And it's this one bit that's always tripped me up over the years. And reading this book is really helping me to kind of define purpose and what this purpose is in life.
Nice. Any other book tips?
Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Can you introduce yourself for us a little bit?
Sure. I am an executive producer at Wieden & Kennedy in Amsterdam. And that's one part of what I do. And I've been there for 11 years now. And then the other part of what I do is I'm a wellness coach. I'm trained in nutritional therapy, yoga, and meditation. And I also coach high achievers in managing stress. So I kind of live this 2 lives, really.
Wow. Did you always knew that you wanted to become a producer?
No, but I guess if you look at the trajectory of my life, it does seem like it followed quite a linear progression in a way, but in a way we're all just kind of making it up as we go along, right? So I didn't know, but at 17 or 18 years old, I applied to film school and law school because coming from a good Asian family, my parents were like, no, you have to go to law school. And at that point, I was like, okay, you know what? You're paying for my education, thankfully, but I'll go to law school, like screw film school. But at that point was when I had a newfound respect for my parents because they said, they sat me down and they said, we don't want you to go to law school and flunk out because you hate it and waste your time and our money. And we're kind of not really sure what this film school thing is all about, but sure, go for it, you know? So I went to film school and that's kind of been the start, I guess. It's how I kind of got into the production world, and I've been here through production companies and then on the agency side. And I was actually a TV presenter for like way back when, ages as well ago. So kind of always been in this world.
You've been a TV presenter?
Yeah, first job out of college. It was super fun. So I grew up born and raised in Singapore and then went to film school in Boston. After graduating, coming back to Singapore, there's not much of a film film industry in Singapore. It's really too small as a country. So broadcasting is the other big sort of like production industry, really. And I ended up working at a local production company. And so I was working in the production side of stuff, and we were actually auditioning presenters for it. And as a joke, my boss at the time was like, why don't you go on camera too? And so I was like, okay, whatever. And then the station saw it and they liked it. And I ended up producing and presenting at the same time. And it was fun because first job out of college, I was flying around the world and interviewing Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, you know, like music video type programs. So yeah, so that was kind of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. But after about 2-3 years, it became too much because when you're just presenting and being the bimbo, right? It's okay. But then because I had to produce as well, so it was just nonstop. And then I actually really missed being on a film set again. And and then the only other way of getting into film at the time was through commercials. Yeah, so I went back to the commercial world again after that.
Back to your current role. You've been at Wyden & Kennedy for over a decade now.
Yes.
What is the thing you enjoyed most about working as a producer in the creative industry?
Wyden & Kennedy, Amsterdam specifically, is a very special place. I think I always describe it as being in art school, an international art school, in a way, you know, because it's people, I think there's something I forget, and it changes, the number changes all the time, but there's like 30-something different nationalities, like 20-something different languages that are spoken. So there's always very different perspectives because everyone comes from everywhere in the world.
It's like a mini globe on itself then.
Yeah, totally. So I think it makes for interesting conversations. You learn a lot about different perspectives in the world. It opens your mind a lot, you know, being around people from different places, I think. Yeah. And actually what I love about Amsterdam as a city is it feels like Amsterdam attracts a lot of the black sheep from wherever they were, the oddballs, people that didn't really fit in, end up coming to Amsterdam somehow, and like you just find such interesting people doing such very different things, you know. And what I like about the advertising scene here that you don't have people that are only into advertising. There are a lot of people that are into other things, lots of different facets, you know.
I agree, and that's also why I love the international scene, especially in Amsterdam, because it has all these diverse voices and this wider perspective. And it's something we find really important when we are making our work. It's like we are trying to change people's perspectives with the films and the stories we tell. And to do that, we have to be looking at ourselves and like try and create the most diverse teams we can have. So we have this like
you're in the
really
best place
audience.
to be for that. Yeah, totally.
You've worked on so many projects. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about the project you worked on? Or
I'm really fortunate to have worked with lots of mega directors like Wally Pfister, Christopher Nolan, cinematographer who won the Oscar for Inception, Batman, and Michel Gondry, like Tom Cruise, some of like the super A-list commercial directors. So I'm fortunate in that I feel like I've kind of done that, you know. But for me now, what's really interesting is the whole giving back now and nurturing the incoming generation, you know. And I think as executive producer, a lot of times I'm paired with a more junior producer where you help to guide them a little bit through their own productions, and I get a lot of joy out of that.
Apart from being a producer,
yes,
you have another full-time passion.
Yes,
your health and wellness.
Yes.
How did that happen?
So I remember this very clearly because, so you know, I was talking about the presenting job, right, that I started, and I was really starting to burn out quite a bit. At the same time, I was getting really into yoga, like Ashtanga yoga, and it was like a daily practice every morning, rock up to the Mysore room. The Ashtanga style of yoga it's a fixed set of sequences that you do. It's not led by the teacher, so you rock up anywhere you go in the world in Ashtanga Mysore, roll your mat out, and you just do your practice. And the teacher just walks around the room and adjusts you in the pose, determines whether you're ready to be given the next pose in the series. So that was what really kind of, to have a daily structure, to have something to come to kind of, for me, was my moving meditation. And I think that got me into this whole rhythm and routine of like, not just like a movement practice. It really started off as a fitness thing, right? As more of an exercise thing. But then through the world of yoga, you also then become interested in like Ayurveda and nutrition and what you eat, right? And I was like, well, I want to learn more about nutrition using food as medicine. And then that's how I then studied part-time and got my diploma in nutritional therapy. And then I added on, but then I also realized that, well, you can teach someone about the nutrition and things to eat and stuff, but if you don't also address the way that they are, their patterns in their life. And that's where the coaching then came on. That's how I really actually, and having been coached myself, having coaches along the way, you realize the importance of actually having someone to be accountable to and setting the goals and, you know, and always checking in, and like that's how you actually really meet them, right?
Can you tell me a bit more about coaching? I've got a coach since just over a year.
Yeah.
And I would never think about getting a coach because why? I don't need a coach. Like I know it all myself, or I will find out and learn, right?
Yeah.
But then I came to the realization of like, I was just actually trying it out for a couple of months. And then I realized it's like, if you want to be a top player, if you want to be like high in the industry or successful, or if you want to build something that's bigger than just yourself, why not take a coach? Because every sport, if you compare it to sports, every sports team or every professional athlete have a coach.
Exactly.
But why do we in normal life don't have that?
Exactly. I think it's really important, whether or not it's business coaching, life coaching, or health coaching. There's a lot of overlap, right?
Your job as a producer, let's go back to that. It's high pressure and often very stressful. I know this myself as well as being a producer. Do you got any tips or go-to techniques for stress management besides your 10 minutes meditation?
Yeah, giving yourself constant breaks throughout the day definitely is important. But I think giving yourself breaks after a mega-ass project is also important.
Do you have this black hole after a big production?
Yeah,
like
totally.
After the shoot day, even if the project isn't finished, already after the shoot days.
Yeah.
It's like boom.
Yeah, totally. I have to have at least a week, if not 2 weeks. But then at least once a year, I like doing a longer, like 4 to 6 week, like time off, where I get out and I either do a yoga retreat or sometimes I do a yoga training as well.
How can we take the taboo away from conversations about burnouts and mental health in the creative industry?
Talk about it. I think it's important, especially if you're in a management role or a higher position within the company. It is your responsibility to actually really talk about it or bring it to awareness. Because for me, this is actually watching and learning the Wyden and Kennedy management team just really lead through example. They're not afraid of difficult conversations. And I think it has to come from the top down. You know, it's easy it's easy. I think it's harder when you're in a more junior position to try to talk about it. But I think if you're in HR, definitely bring it up to whoever's running the company. I think if you're in a leading role, to really be aware of what's going on and to talk about it really, you know, and especially now when everyone's working from home and we're quite siloed and there's less social human interaction, it definitely starts to weigh more on the mental side of things, I think. So it's important, I think.
Do you have any dream projects that you would like to manifest in the near future?
I have this dream that like there's a group program that I will have one day to help people with that, you know, whether or not it's stress managing or it's really about like creating those personal rituals in your life to help you live the kind of life that you want, you know? Yeah, really a lot of it is through personal rituals. Yeah. Fitness, nutrition.
Yeah. And it's changing small things that you do every day or like continuously.
Yeah.
If you change those, if you are like, you can do a diet for everyone can do a diet for a couple of weeks or months.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't become
become a part of you, who you are, what you believe, and your lifestyle, really.
It won't work. And,
exactly. Yeah. And just from having lived that and lived through that change in my own life, I just being a lot happier now than I was 20 years ago. Yeah. You know, realizing that as well.
All right. Yeah. Jaime, we've come to the end of our conversation. Thank you very much for being on board.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Really enjoyed talking. Got so much energy out of it.
Yeah,
and
likewise.
I hope to speak soon. Take care. Wish you all the best.
Thank you. And to you too. And we're Duffree.